Okay, so chapter 14, lesson 4 and 5, we're dividing by decimals. Yesterday we're dividing by whole numbers. Today we're dividing by decimals, which adds another step that you guys have not done. So in the example on page 300 on lesson 4, Janet skates 3 miles in 0.6 hour. What is her speed? So we're trying to figure out what is her speed. Okay, so we're going to use decimals, which is way 1. Okay. And then way 2 is with fractions. So we'll do the decimal one first. So you take, in the inside, your dividend is the 3 miles divided by the 0.6. Okay, so you have a decimal here. And typically, when you have a decimal as your divisor, you want to make your dividend also a decimal. Okay, so I'm going to change 3 into 3.0. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm going to do that is because you're going to divide the divisor and the dividend by the same power of 10. Okay. So basically what I mean by that is I'm going to change 3.0 and 0.6, and I'm going to multiply by some power of 10, and in this case it's just 10, okay, to get me whole numbers. So 3.0 times 10, you move over the decimal place, 1 position to the right, 1 place value to the right, and that gives me 30. And same with 0.6, that gives me 6. So now, if I do that, my problem becomes, and as you can see here, I'm moving this decimal over 1, moving this decimal over 1. So my problem now becomes 30 divided by 6. Okay? And I know that 30 divided by 6 is 5, right? So my answer is 5. So her speed is what?
5 miles per hour.
5 miles per hour. 5 mph is my answer. Okay? Now, if you were going to do this the fraction way, let me show you guys that before I come back to this. Okay? So way 2 is using fractions. And if you prefer doing it this way, do it that way. If you prefer decimal, do it that way. Okay? So you're going to write both numbers as fractions. 3 is 3 over 1. And you're dividing by 6/10, which is 6 over 10, which equals 3 over 1 times the reciprocal, which is 10/6. Then I can cross reduce. And that equals 10 over 2, which will give me 5 miles per hour. So if you prefer to do it with fractions, you can do it that way. Or if you prefer using decimals, you can do it that way. Okay? So in lesson 5, the biggest difference between lesson 4 and lesson 5 is that the dividend is already a decimal, okay? Whereas in lesson 4, the dividend was not a decimal. You had to change that into a decimal and then move it over. So for example, if we look at the problem on page 304, there's a long-distance swimmer who swam 2.6 miles at the speed of 0.8 mile per hour. So they want to know how long did it take, okay? So time. To find the distance, you're going to multiply the speed by the time, so you can find the time by dividing the distance by the speed. So if the distance in miles is 2.6, you're dividing that by the speed, which is 0.8. Okay? And if I'm going to use the way 1, I put 2.6 in here, divided by 0.8 on the outside. So now, since they both have decimals, you're going to move this one over one place value, which is the same as multiplying by 10, and you're going to move this one over. One place value is the same as multiplying by 10. Whatever you do to the inside, you do to the outside. Just like in fractions, whatever you do to the numerator, you do to the denominator. Whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. Same with division. A division problem is basically a fraction, okay? So whatever you do to the dividend, you do to the divisor, okay? Just like you do numerator and denominator. Same concept, okay? So now that I moved it over, now my problem, and I'm going to rewrite it so it's clearer, becomes 26 divided by 8. Okay? So how many times can 8 go into 26? 3. I get 24. Subtract, I get 2 left over. Now, I don't want a remainder, so I add the decimal and add a 0. Okay? How many times can 8 go into 20? Don't forget the decimal on top. 16 gives me 4. Add another 0. How many times can 8 go into 40? 5 times. So my answer is 3.25 what? No. The question is asking you for what? Time. So it took...
Seconds per...
So remember, he is doing a long-distance swimmer, swam 2.6 miles at the speed of 0.8 mile per hour. So how long did it take him to do 2.6 miles? 3.25 hours. Very good. Okay. Would it make sense to say it took him 3.25 seconds? No, that's like bionic, right? Would it make sense to say minutes? No, right? That's not even humanly possible. 3.25 hours makes the most sense. Okay? Remember, think about reasonable. What is reasonable here? Okay? Okay, so if we were going to use this doing fractions, right? Same problem. 2 6/10 divided by 8/10. 2 6/10 changes to 26 over 10 divided by 8 over 10, which then changes to 26/10 times 10 over 8. You can eliminate the tens, okay? And you get 26 over 8, which equals 3 and 2 eighths, which is equal to 3 and 1/4, which is equal to 3.25 as a decimal. 3.25 hours. So, it's up to you. If you like fraction way better, do it the fraction way. If you like the decimal method, do the decimal. Remember, pick what works for you.